Alright, welcome everybody. My name is Terminus, and today we're going to talk about Spice and Wolf episode 3 and 4. Yeah, I didn't have time yet last week. I didn't have time to watch it. I just watched episode 3 and 4 together, which was actually pretty nice. Like, it was a pretty nice pairing together. If I might say so myself. And it was very, very enjoyable. I do really like what they do with this series at the moment. I think they're doing it a way more justice than the already really good anime that came out back in the day. I think they're doing it a lot of justice, not only with just creating the atmosphere, right? The facial expressions are right, the relationships, the back and forth is right. The dialogue lines that were taken directly from the light novel are great. As are some of the original ones, right? Because obviously you can't adapt anything to another medium without getting into that position where you have to change a couple of lines, but keeping in line with what the original intent of the work of art was. And I think we're doing this, and I really like that. Episode 3 was more of a build-up episode, but we do get a lot of material over time, right? We do get to learn a lot about what Holo is about, especially Lawrence too, but Lawrence more of his merchant side, right? What he needs to know to be a merchant, what he involves himself with, right? The relationships he upholds, right? The friends he has and makes, the way he's using all of his contacts and his knowledge about trading companies and everything that's going on in order to get himself the advantage, in order to do the things that he needs to do in order to make a living, right? But let's jump a little bit into it, go through it a tiny bit. I don't want to do it too much, but obviously this is a review, so we're arriving at the town of Pasio as we have foreshadowed last time when we talked about it with, I think, the merchant. I don't even know what his name was, Siren or something. He wanted to meet in that town, which kind of makes us already guess that maybe the scheme he's involved in is backed by somebody who is inherently like located in this town. We do have, it's beautiful, right? We do see a river town. I do wonder if we actually, it's really great if you, like, look at that, this is like picturesque, and you could believe that something like this was maybe like a German town along the Rhine or along one of the smaller rivers in Germany or whatever. Like this big river looks very much like the Rhine would look technically. But we're maybe more in the north, right? More in the northern lands, at the very least, like the southern part of the northern land, so we have to, right, assume it's something similar. The architecture is similar, the makeup is similar. If you would look probably at a random German town along the Rhine, that it would look like this, right? You do have all of these patches of land that are land where crops are being kept, or livestock or whatever. And you do have these towns which oftentimes, at least back in the day, had giant walls and maybe a couple of like I don't know how you call that in English, like the little river bed that they have along the town. But these towns built along the river because the river is very the river makes for very fruitful land, right? For very very valuable land for doing crops and for trading too, right? Because you can drive ships along the river and exchange goods with other towns that are on that river. A lot of animals will be close to that river because that will be their main source of water. There's going to be fish along that river, and there's definitely also going to be, once like the townships form, you do probably have various areas that are controlled by certain people, and those certain people will want to have some money, right, as like a payment if you move through their river or through their they're part of the river or through their general area. And this is how people who possess a lot of land, or who at least settled first on that land, are able to kind of just claim their stake and get money passively from just people being allowed to move through and being allowed to make contacts here. We do have these beautiful, beautiful bridges that connect the different parts of the town, and like the river often splits the town into various quarters, obviously. And one of the main quarters will obviously be the quarter along the river, because we do have like a haven there, right? We have like a port where ships can dock and exchange goods, and this is where trading companies then will settle. They will have giant warehouses along the rivers. And this is what you see here, right? This is basically what we have here, and we're going inside the town, right? And to be let inside the town across a bridge and through the gate. A gate that is also protecting the citizens that live inside it, right? Protecting the goods that are stored inside it, protecting the companies that build, right? The guilds that build around exchanging goods and being a merchant organization, right? Putting themselves together and being like, okay, if we work together, we can actually help each other out in situations. And this is what Lawrence is doing later. But let's actually look a little bit at one of these ways, like, don't you need to hide your face? And we talk about like how people from Paslow might come through. And she's like, well, I don't really need to. They're forgotten about me, because this is her state here. This is her sad, right? Her sad state. Because even if the legends still describe her very, very vividly, although I didn't see like a mention of her red eyes, which is very interesting. Which I don't think the red eyes were actually also in the light novel. So this is a cool little detail that, I mean, they might have been in the light novel. I don't remember it well enough, but I don't think they were one of the main features that was described for her. So this might have been originally an anime choice, or a choice of the illustrator of the light novel. Either way though, it's very, very nice. Very interesting also that they could describe her this detailed, right? As long as you keep her from, she promises a bountiful harvest in the following year. As long as you keep her form a secret, right? But she says, yeah, they're gonna forget about me or they have forgotten about me anyway. This is her. They've long forgotten me. And once again, we get that little drip feed of what's really bothering her. We get to see that later on in the episode. I think in this episode. Might be actually episode 4. But Lawrence notices that. He notices that, and we have that little shot where we do see that he notices it. I love Kevin Penkin's music. The track that was playing along that, it was absolutely beautiful. Even the intro is kind of ethereal in a way. And she, like, we get to know a little bit more about her, right? We humanize her. She is really into apples. Those are really, really amazing for her. Lawrence tries to ignore it at first. He's like, I know you're staring at those apples. I'm just gonna pretend I don't notice. And he's explaining how it works, right? Amount of storage space can be used, and you pay a certain amount for a certain amount of space. Interesting how that carried over to other things, even these days, right? You pay for the square feet that you have whenever you have like storage warehouse or whatnot, you pay per square feet, and whenever you have like storage online, you pay per like gigabyte of what you're storing. At the very least, there's certain plans and certain standards for whatever, because you have production costs, right? In this case, in the case of like storage, normal storage, you do have the cost of upkeeping the storage, right? Keeping the facilities in order, the electricity running, the security mechanisms, the people paid that are watching the storage, right? Because you want your goods to be protected. And that kind of drives the price, plus whatever the person who is providing you with all of that, who has the connections, is actually wanting for themselves, in order for themselves to actually be living off of that. Yeah. And he gives her a silver coin and says, buy as many as you like. Biggest mistake of his life. No, actually not. Actually not. She bought 1 silver coin, and for the price of 1 silver coin, he got 70 extra silver coins on the deal with the furs. which is amazing. I mean, probably she would have gotten like 200, 190 out of them without the smell, but the smell was the main feature she praised, right? Like, I'm the one who paid for them. But she's like, nah, those are mine. I can make that in no time. And he's like, are you sure? He's not like that, but he thinks that, right? He's like, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, apples are the devil's fruit. They are. Indeed they are. Right? The snake, Garden of Eden, whatever. Funny little pun. You may lose many things due to greed, but you gain no benefits from abstinence, and that is fucking true. I mean, maybe for time, right? To free your spirit, to kind of make a new experience. But other than that, total abstinence. I mean, even if we say, like, if you want to get rid of a bad habit or something, right? You don't want to consume anything you've consumed before, right? Something to eat or whatever. Something to drink, soda or whatever. Just completely refusing to take it. The problem is, as soon as you get the taste of it again, or you are in a state of mind where you're maybe like too stressed out, right? You're gonna fall for it again, and then it's gonna be a whole downward slope again. Other than that, you should just reduce your intake, and then it's fine. Right? The dose makes the poison, right? The dosage makes the poison. Beautiful how they paint the city, right? We do see that this city street is not right in the middle. It's slightly to the left, which creates a really cool layer of depth. Where on the left side we don't have that much, right? But we do still see the archways and the people kind of standing in them, conversing with one another. But on the right side we see more of the side of a building, and we can kind of imagine how it looks like past that, right? If we just round the corner of this, it creates a really interesting picture to look at. But yeah, we meet in the right in the, interestingly enough, this is the Malone Trading Company, right? Yeah, this is the Malone Trading Company. But we go past and we're not selling it in the Malone Trading Company. Or are we? I'm still not kind of quite sure. Yeah, Seren, that's his name. Yeah, no, we're selling in the Malone Trading Company. Alright, so we're selling in Malone. We're talking to people, we're making like these furs and whatever. And this guy is not experienced enough to actually make proper, bartering, whatever. He's giving the Martin pelts, and he would be okay with 140, right? Because he's 132, and he's like, yeah, 132, that's a good anchor, but let me just push it a little bit further. You can't push it too high, right? He's saying that, right? He's like, this is good quality. Like, I was hoping to deepen our relationship, so he's playing with the relationship. He's like promising future profits, which is a good trick if you don't have anything else to sell it with. But Holo is kind of observing. She's like just waiting, and then she's like, I have something to say. And she's kind of just really good at selling something. She's like, look, didn't you notice this? Didn't you notice that? And then they're like, the smell and whatever. Because she had that thought, she's like, the apples, and I do smell that, right? On the pelts. And she's like, I can sell that. The interesting thing about this is, yes, she's lying, but at the same time, the smell of the apples will evaporate at some point. The thing is, you can still make it smell good, right? So at some point it's gonna be like, right, it did smell really, really good, but now it smells a little bit less good. Rich people are probably gonna be like, okay, maybe we'll use something to make it smell better again. And nobody will be the wiser, and they will be super satisfied with their Martin pelts anyway. Now, for how long they can actually sell it as well as good smelling pelts, that is another question, right? The trading company has to act quickly to actually make it happen, but yeah, it's gonna be fine, right? They're gonna be able to do it at some point, and they're gonna discover it was not completely the truth, and they're gonna find their own way to do it. So they're gonna be like, oh, how did they actually do it? And they're like, maybe they put some fruit on it. They put some fruit on it, they can sell it with the same method, right? This is how they would be learning that. And then she's selling it, right? The durability and whatever. She's kind of making him like deduct from the fact that they have been eating good, right? Whatever the Martins have been eating good in the woods. right? That means they're very healthy. Their pelts are very durable and sturdy and whatever. Yeah, she's a very, very, very good at selling. And then she puts another anchor out. She's like, no, he puts another anchor out. He's like 200, and you know, what about, right? She's counting it down, and it's like, that's not completely 3 silver per pelt. How about 3 per pelt, right? That makes it more round. That would be around 210. And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, maybe we should ask. It's another trading company, just being like, okay, we might be able, right? Thinking about leaving. Now obviously that's a cheap trick, but at the same time, this guy's under pressure. He's like, these are very valuable pelts. If I don't get them now, maybe somebody else is gonna profit from that. Really great. She earned her keep. 70 extra. Holy shit. 70 extra. That's like 1.5 times the price that he would have gotten with his initial like negotiations. And they have no knowledge about that, the Malone Trading Company. And we're talking again, right? We're kind of just scouting out to see if there's something going on. But they're actually making their contract. He's like going along as if he is convinced, right? He's obviously kind of testing him a little bit, being like, well, are these sure profits? And the wrong answer is being like, yes, definitely 100%. The right answer is to be a little bit hesitant on it. I do love the like this little aspect that Hole is actually trying to learn the coins. Obviously it's very complicated and tiring to learn it, and I would assume that Lawrence felt the same way originally, but it's part of his trade, so he had to learn it. For her it's like, all right, you know what, I'm done, this is way too many. But we talk a little bit about how the church and other like kingdoms and countries and whatever, how they keep their power, right? How their influence is kind of like determining the worth of the coin, and also probably how much silver and gold goes into these coins and how pure they are originally. That makes their worth as well, obviously, because if you put less silver into the coin, that means you are giving away a lot less of your own of the own value that you possess, right? Of the silver you generally possess per coin, which means that it's worth less, obviously. But also your influence determines that as well, so it's very interesting. Yeah, we generally get into the situation where it's very interesting that these days our currencies are more built on solely the perception of whatever country we're talking about, right? Like if we are looking at the European Union, the euro, the value of the euro is mainly based on whatever the countries that are within the eurozone and what they own and how much like how much export and import they have, right? What their general what their general productivity is, rather than what their inherently possessed like resources are, because we went beyond mere resource trading at this point, and far more in like an abstract and perception based economy, where oftentimes things are being valued way higher than they actually are, based on predictions and expectations that we have for them to grow or to fall, right? Otherwise, far lower than in that case. I don't know if that's a better system, honestly, right? Because oftentimes people can make big mistakes like that, right? Just like that, and lose a lot of money, or put their expectations into the wrong people. But I think in a way it's basically what it was back in the day. Back in the day it was just handled differently, right? You also had big expectations into like a certain company or country, and the trade they were doing, and then maybe you invested a lot within that country or helped them do something, with the hope of like getting a percentage of the share or whatever. And then if they didn't get the share they were supposed to get, right? Or if they made losses, then you were in on that, right? And you would make losses as well. Either way, we're scoping this out. A lot of very, very nice scenes in between where we do just show the city and the city life. And I think that breathes life into the atmosphere and into the setting that we're seeing. Beautiful river towns, the glistening of the water, right? And we have these little nudges, right, back and forth, where Volo and Lawrence are kind of just, yeah, bantering with one another. And we do have almost flirting in a way, right? Being like, but also gauging each other's characters, learning more about one another. And he meets a friend who has like the coin, and he's immediately onto always like, maybe you want to become my wife. Obviously, she sees through that immediately, but like simple flattery is not gonna get through to her. But she likes playing with people, right? She does find that very amusing. And they're just trying to make out how much value did the coin increased or decreased and whatever. Right. And Lawrence notices the little things because he knows things about Holo that others don't, like with the ears and whatnot. And she's calling him out for being jealous, low-key. But she says it's okay. Like she's making, like, initially she's making fun of him, right? She's like kind of just poking him a little bit, teasing him. But then she's like, that's perfectly fine, right? Men are idiots, right, who get jealous easily, but women are idiots too, who tend to feel happy about these things, especially if the person that gets jealous is not being overly petty about it, and if the person that gets jealous is somebody you actually like, right? And this is like, we do see continuously the physical closeness of the two. Yeah. And now we're trying to figure it out. We're talking back and forth. We're like, it's not that easy to make a profit like this, but Lawrence has been thinking in the confines of his like inner trading world, right? How can this person make direct profit from it? But he wasn't thinking about maybe somebody hired him to go around and do these things. He himself wouldn't be making profits, right, other than being paid by whoever hired him to do so. And then the person who hired him is going to make big profits based on what they are doing, which is like big picture, right? You need to zoom out more, but oftentimes this is something that people are not too versed in seeing because they're too focused on their own little world, on their own little like perspective. And meeting another fellow trader like that, who is maybe like more of a less experienced trader, might make you prone to think more that if it's a scam, it's actually just a scam based on what he is doing, right? That he directly profits from it in some way. And we don't think about trading companies, but we introduced them earlier in the episode, and this is where it all comes to fruition here. Cool shot from right up above, and then Lawrence has his realization standing up, bam, right? And he's going to Malone and talking about it, right? And we're gonna figure it out. Which leads us to our second episode. Yeah. Episode 4 was one of my favorite episodes so far because it has a lot of good stuff going on. We do have that second business deal where the Malone Trading Company is listening in on the back. First, you think maybe somebody else is listening in. We talk to them again to figure out who they're working for, but they would probably not be that careless. So we find out that Malone was actually listening in, and they wanted to confirm themselves probably that what Lawrence is saying is actually true. Yeah, moonlit night, and we're talking again, right? We're mapping this out. A mastermind is behind all of that. And they don't know what they'll do with all the silver, but there are things that can be done, right? Even if you're like, right, if you're getting all these people to buy the silver and then buy it from them when it's at decreased value, maybe exchange it for something that is higher value later on. If you, I mean, I don't know, there might be nobility even inside of it. They said it themselves, somebody might be backing them, a duke or something. And the first station would be, in this case, trading companies, right? right? And we're really going in on this. We're gonna profit from it ourselves. And he trusts the Malone Trading Company because they're like an international company that's probably involved in it a long time. And for a second, she's kind of just amused about him having similarities with somebody she knew before. And she's talking about him, right? When she's a little bit drunk, so we don't know how much she's actually teasing him and how much she's just talking from the heart. And that kind of bothers him a little bit low-key, obviously. Yeah. And he was from Paslow Village. He was the one she made the deal with originally. Must have been a really great friend. She says he was my first friend, kind of. And she wanted to tell him something, but we'll come back to that later, obviously. It was just in the nick of time that she actually remembered it. Right, Medio, right? Malone versus Medio. And Medio Trading Company is the one that is actually backing Saren. And we're trying to get something out of that. We're negotiating who gets what when everything is said and done. Really cool how we do the 2 archways with like the glistening water, glistening in the bright midday sun, and him being absolutely elated. Or like the 200,000 Trenny silver coins. 2,000 is a lot for that value, right? And that's a great thing. He's not feeling too good about being hungover, so we do know Wolf can be hungover. Great, good to know. But he's painting his dream, right? Having his own house, his own shop that he can sell stuff in, and it looks kind of weirdly like something we've seen in episode 1, huh? I mean, obviously you can guess that from what if you go back to episode 1 and you look at it, you can kind of guess that this is what it's gonna end like, right? That this is kind of but we don't know if he ends up there, right? Or if this is another place, but it looks very much like it. And this is his dream. He talks about his dreams, right? About like how many merchants who are traveling merchants, they're going from town to town, and it's quite hard, right? You have to sleep in your wagon. It's not very comfortable. It's not very healthy. You have a lot of relationships all around the globe, but you do have those relationships are very superficial, right? They're often business relationships and maybe a couple of loose friends that you have here and there that you see like once a year or once every 2 or 3 years. There's not a lot to go by, right? Not a lot of solid company, not a lot of people who do have your back when you're in dire straits, not a lot of people that you can talk to when you have trouble and issues. Not a lot of people, maybe some people that you knew, right, that were somewhat good friends of you that you've seen every year or so. You come back and they're gone, right? They went somewhere else or they died. Right? This is a lonely life. And settling down is the dream for him, right? Settling down, founding a family, right? This is the dream for a traveling merchant. To be a merchant, an established merchant with lots of connection that can maybe even be part of a larger trading company at some point or found his own trading company and then make enough money to be happy for life, right? Be experienced enough to be a good trader for life. To see all these traveling merchants coming in being like, I was like you once, but now I've made it. Yeah. And we talk a little bit about it. Like, when he has this deal going through, he could actually buy his own shop. Maybe not as large and extravagant as what he's drawing, right? And he doesn't know which city yet. The plans are still very loose because until like 2 days ago, this was still not a topic. This was something that was far off for him. He's still young. I think 27 he is. And she's like she's taking this immediately, like being said, she's like, once you settle down, right? Because he hasn't been thinking about this. He's just been dreaming about what he would do if he gets this money right now. He's like, I guess I'll have to look for somebody else. And he doesn't realize immediately what she is talking about, right? Deep from her heart. Because for him, it's like, you have the money from the Martin first. You're very good at like talking to people, whatever. You're gonna be fine. But she's like, I don't wanna travel alone, right? It's lonely on the road. And he realizes that. immediately. First of all, like, this is a triple connection, right? The first connection is him as a trader. He understands that as a traveling merchant, what loneliness is like, how she feels. Second, he understands it as somebody who yeah, I mean, realizes that this makes her sad. And third of all, right, he realizes that their relationship is at that point that she would be very, or at least, yeah, she would feel very lonely without him, and even if she started traveling with somebody else. So he comes, like, he goes for a compromise, which is not even a compromise, because he's like, I didn't think about this, right? But I'm not gonna start my thing immediately. I guess we can, right? Once I got the money, once I got the property, right? Once everything is like in safe, right? What do you say? How do you say it? Once everything is safe and I know I'm definitely gonna get it, I can always decide where to settle down, and we can travel to the north and then part our ways and travel for a longer time, because he realizes himself it's been kind of fun together. So yeah, a very, very heartfelt moment between the two of them. Very nice that he also takes the initiative, because he often doesn't. She does. So he's like, how unlike you. But she shares her vulnerability here. She shares that she is she's lonely, that all of these old names, probably other wolves, right, that she parted ways with. She thought she'd see them again, but at this point in time, she doesn't hear no word from them, right? Maybe they all died, or they all went to far, far away lands, or maybe they were hunted down, right? That's also a possibility with how the church is with heretics and whatnot. Either way, it's very painful and very lonely out there. It can be kind of really solemn. You wake up every day alone. I think many of us can relate to that, because many of us had days, weeks, months, years in our lives where this was the case. Where you're just living your life on your own, and then, right? It works sometimes if there's things you want to do, right? If there's a lot of things that make you busy. But once you're settled into a routine, once you're kind of settled, right? Like Lawrence, who's doing his job as a traveling merchant, knows how it goes, does his routine, goes his routes. There's definitely something that's nagging on you, and for Holo as well, obviously, for her living as long as she does. All the people that, like, all the mortal people dying, and her not having met anybody who is like her in probably hundreds of years. And we share that. And this is great symbolism. He gives her his dreams to wipe away her tears, right? He gives up his dreams, more or less, to wipe away her tears, right? And this shows kind of like how the people we meet change us. How they maybe change our priorities. How they change how we interact with life, and what we value and what we strive for, right? Because ultimately there's a lot in our lives where we make plans and whatnot. And ReZero has this saying, right, where in the beginning that Subaru continues to mention, where it's like, demons talk about the future, or talk about tomorrow with you while they laugh. Because that saying kind of says, like, you never know what's around the corner, right? Sometimes you get unlucky, sometimes you get lucky, sometimes things that you experience, people that you meet, they change you on a fundamental level. And then you have to rethink what your actual dreams were, or what your actual dreams are. Maybe those dreams, you give them up, or they change, right? They get modified. There's something added to that dream, right? Only if this happens, right? Only if we also do this, right? Sometimes a me or I changes into a we. Sometimes the other way around. That's painful, but it's also the case, right? This is a very important moment between the two of them. It's very nice also that afterwards she's kind of flirty with him, but also she's hiding that, right? This thing that she's hearing outside the door, where we do have that little moment of them kind of sharing kind of sharing this closeness, but it's interrupted by her being strategic, right? Saving their hides. And Shio said, I mean, all of that wasn't for play, we know that, right? There's this familiarity. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes there's this familiarity. I'm gonna give up on that. There's this closeness going on. But at the same time, we obviously have to think about ourselves, about what's happening right now. And she's not dumb enough to forget everything in that moment. And we do see later on how it works, right? How close they've grown to one another. How they trust each other, right? When they split ways and she's like, yeah. I trust you, I trust that you're gonna come and that we're gonna find that. You will definitely come for me, right? And this is an important moment in their relationship. And also a very crucial one, right? He's being protected, and first of all he thinks like, damn, he doesn't care, right? I need to do something. He doesn't realize that our friend here is our, I don't know, merchant, right? The guy of the trading company, I didn't catch the name, that he is understanding of his situation, that he's just saying, well, it doesn't make sense to me, right? Because technically, right, from looking at it, the decision I would make would be for the profits and not caring about you or your companion. But I understand how you feel and we're gonna do something about it if we can. We're not gonna give up our trades, but we... And he remembers a couple of moments they had. He wants to step out, but he's like, come on, we're gonna help you, but we're gonna do it right. We need to know, right, what they want, why they want, right? Why they have captured your companion of all people, because they wouldn't really get leverage over the company. And the company is already moving. And here it is, right? The wolf. They know about the wolf. The question is, what are they gonna do with that situation, right? Give it to the church? What are they gonna get for it? Money? That what they planned from the beginning on? I don't think so. Right? There was just, they took advantage of realizing that this was the case, right? Somebody must have known about 𝐏𝐢𝐏, because she hid herself pretty well, so there must be somebody who, like we saw in the beginning of episode 3, like put down, who knew the description of her appearance. And it does seem to be somebody, as we see in the after credits scene, that 𝐏𝐻𝐢𝐏 is familiar with to a degree. Yeah. Shadows loom. A great episode. A great episode. Episode 4 especially. Episode 3 too, right, leading up to that. And we do have a very, very tense situation in which we don't know how it ends up. And I do love how they did justice to the light novel so far, how extremely well the tracks of Kevin Penkin and whoever else was involved in all of that are working for this series, how they're displaying this amazing atmosphere of the traveling merchant, right, traveling towns, being on almost an adventure, being on this journey, right, going into a bustling town, experiencing all the wonders of what it has to offer during that time frame. And the voice actors, I mean, I didn't recognize them immediately, but I think they needed at least a couple of scenes to get back into their roles. But now that they're back in action, I'm I couldn't imagine it without them, definitely. So I do hope this keeps up. I just got to know that this is more than 20 episodes. Holy shit, I'm so excited. I do wonder if they're going above of what, or beyond of what the first anime had with its 2, I think 12-ish episode seasons, or if we're actually just gonna go exactly what, or approximately where the old anime ended, and then we're waiting for that green lighting of season 2. I do wonder how this is gonna work, but either way, it definitely gets more people interested in Spice and Wolf, which I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite light novels. Light novel series. 17 volumes, it's already finished, so if you want to get it, go get it. It's great. It's a great read on any day, but especially on slow rainy days. Looking out the window every once in a while as the rain droplets are running down the window frame. Those are the best days to read, really. Anyway, I'm Terminus. This has been Spice and Wolf episode 3 and 4. And I do hope I see you on the review to the next Spice and Wolf. I do hope you enjoyed the anime, and I do hope the people of you who are new to Spice and Wolf, who actually want to get into it, you maybe get the first volume of the light novel and give it a read, because it's absolutely amazing. And the more people actually read it, the better. But I'll be seeing you on the next review or reaction, depending on what kind of content you watch on my channel. See you soon.